What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again, always with another one. And yes, indeed, it is another one. So this is where we at. As you can clearly see the title of the broadcast, we're reaching back and we're talking about the ILA, the Longshoremen situation that happened at the tail end of last year and things like that. It was, of course, a huge situation. Which is a huge problem with our shipping and things like that over here in America. And yeah, they didn't quite, they came to somewhat of a minor agreement, but let's go here now. These broadcasts that I'm going to show you guys happened 4 weeks ago, and the other one was like 2 weeks ago. So we're about to go here now. We're about to check this out and see what's going on. They give a little update here of what's happening. So let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
A major dock worker strike is set to restart next month. The International Longshoremen's Association, which went on strike for 3 days in October, has yet to reach a deal in their contract negotiations. The strike could impact 14 ports, meaning that imported goods from all around the world could be delayed. Joining us now, anchor of Worldwide Exchange on CNBC, Frank Holland. It's good to see you, Frank. What do we know about the status of these negotiations? Is there a chance this strike could be avoided?
Well, Chris, happy holidays. Good to see you as well. I've reached out to the ILA, that's the Longshoremen's Union, and the port operators known as USMX. No response today. However, last time I checked in with them, it remained to be a contentious negotiation with one huge sticking point. That's automation at the East and Gulf ports. The port operators, they say
Okay, now, as you clearly see on the screen, this is saying January 16th. I know the date is you were a little bit deeper than that but these are the reports that I could find and things like that. I haven't found anything that's a little bit more recent, like a few days or something like that. So we're just going to go here and see what's been going on.
they need that automation to, number one, be competitive with other ports around the U.S., also to increase their profitability. On the other side, the union believes that automation would take away their jobs, or at least has the potential to take away jobs. Previously, the Biden administration had got involved with the negotiations. They certainly were not mediators. They wanted to make that clear back when I spoke to them when this tentative agreement was reached. But they were involved with the negotiations and both sides. They talked about the involvement of the Biden administration. There were thoughts that the port workers, they would want to get a deal done while the Biden administration was still in D.C. However, just a few weeks ago, we saw a wild card. President-elect Donald Trump weighed in on these negotiations, saying that he sided with the union workers, basically saying the port operators, he believed that they should put aside their plans for automation and instead invest in U.S. workers. So, again, a bit of a wild card. The deadline is January the 15th. As you mentioned, we could see a strike on the 16th if some deal is not reached or another tentative agreement to continue negotiations is not reached.
Okay, now that was a huge problem with the port workers and things like that, that the automation would come in and just completely decimate human jobs. Now, I get it, things like that. We're in the 21st century, the technology's taking over a lot of situations. But the thing of this is that these jobs are a major resource for a lot of workers in the United States and things like that. It pays very good money. And this is part of our taxpayer base. Machines don't pay taxes. Okay.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
They don't. But I do understand about the progression of technology within our society. I understand that too.
So what do we know specifically? What would the folks who are out there watching, what would the impact be on them and, of course, their wallets?
That's the big question, not only for consumers, but also investors. That's something that we focused on here with CNBC. Let's focus on the consumer angle. So we know about half of imports into the U.S., they come through those East and Gulf ports, about half of all automobile imports, about 90% of pharmaceutical imports. And then there's other numbers we don't have a hard number, or other things that we don't have hard numbers on, but would certainly be affected. Think about spirits, Irish whiskey, champagne, etc. If you're on the East Coast, that's going to come into those East and Gulf ports, and other things like fruits and nuts. Those also are half of those are imported into the U.S. Half of the ones that we enjoy imported here to the U.S. You would imagine a large percentage are brought into those same ports. On the retail side, when we talk about things like sneakers, computers, and things like that, I've spoken to a number of logistics companies, a lot of retail companies. They pulled forward a lot of the imports they would normally have coming in January to try to get ahead of tariffs and also a possible port strike. But the full impact is not really known. It's one of those it depends kind of things. It depends how long the strike goes. Last time the strike was about 3 days. No real big material impact to really anybody. It was just kind of a slowdown of imports and things that had to be brought in. But if you look at some of the estimates out there, Oxford Economics is one estimate that a lot of people pointed to. If this strike goes on for a prolonged period of time, it could have an impact of $4.5 to $7.5 billion per week of a negative impact on the U.S. economy, Chris.
Frank Holland, always good to see you. Thank you so much.
All right. So, you know what I'm saying? We're about to keep going, and I have another part to this situation. This was 4 weeks ago that I just showed you guys right here. And we're going to go to, well, of course, the latest, which is like 2 weeks ago from where we're standing right now. Okay. So let's go here now. Let's see what they have to say about this this side of the situation. Let's see. Dock workers reach a tentative agreement with port shippers. Okay.
The big issue, automation. ABC's Christian Cordero has details.
This morning, an economically devastating strike that could have shut down all major ports from Maine to Texas has been averted. The deal between port operators and the Longshoremen's Union overcomes a major sticking point, the introduction of automated cargo moving machinery. The tentative deal includes a compromise that allows the ports to modernize shipyards with new equipment, as long as jobs are added alongside that technology. The agreement finalizes a 6-year deal, part of which was negotiated after the union went on strike briefly last fall. The port operators agreeing to a $24 an hour top pay rate bump over 6 years. Had a deal not been reached, ports could have closed as early as next week, potentially costing the economy hundreds of millions of dollars per day.
If all the East Coast and the Gulf Coast ports are closed, businesses will be bringing things in from the West Coast. Ultimately, what that means is higher costs for consumers.
The Longshoremen's Union still has to vote on the deal, but approval is expected. Christian Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Okay, so you know what I'm saying, my thought process is on this situation, like the gentleman just said, bringing things in from the West Coast. If they only bringing things in from the West Coast, yeah, I could see how costs would get a little bit more higher to ship from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast versus you having both coasts being able to ship things in, and also too, it's a much shorter situation with shipping from the East Coast than it will be from the West, because ships will have to go around through the Panama Canal and then go back up to California and all the West Coast and things like that to drop goods off, things like that, and ship them in to inland all the way to the East Coast. So I can see how that would cost tremendous money versus you having both coasts bringing in goods and things like that, and also, you know, kind of balancing the thing out within the middle. But yeah, it is what it is at this point. This is the update as far as the information I can find right now about the port situation and things like that. And this is, you know, first video I showed you guys was 4 weeks ago. This one I just showed you was 2 weeks ago from me making this video right now. Well, making me this broadcast right now. And yeah, this is where we at with this. I know that we kind of slacked on this information because it's just so much going on and things like that. We had the election, stuff like that. You know, it's been a lot, but I think that, you know, and I thought that we needed to keep an update on certain things, especially something like this. This is huge, and a very important situation about our shipping in our country and making sure that, you know, hopefully we can keep, you know, workers employed on the docks, as well as, you know, add in a decent amount of technology to help the workers as well.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
You know, this is just my thoughts on it. And yeah, hopefully we get more updated information about the situation. Hopefully they actually come to, you know, hopefully this is a good agreement for the port workers and things like that. And you know, it all smooths out. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.
Oh.